Hi there, I'm Chef Elizabeth, and today I'm going to show you some of my techniques for working with something called gum paste. So if you're looking to decorate cakes and make flowers that are going to look extra real and three-dimensional and be fluttery, gum paste is what you're going to want to use. I have some here that I've been working with making in advance, and I'll show you up close. It's hardened and it's a sugar dough. And the easiest way to get started with gum paste is to actually purchase already made gum paste, or you can get a dry powder mix. I'm using the purchase variety here. You can get it right from our bakery in the store. And it looks just like kind of firm white Play-Doh or paste. So the first tip for starting out with gum paste is that you want to work in a little bit of fat in there to make it more pliable. So I'm going to do that right here with a little bit of Crisco. You're just going to take a small amount in your gum paste. So about this much Crisco, about this much gum paste. And you just want to kind of knead that in. And as I'm working with it, you can kind of see how it goes from tearing apart to stretching. See that? Much more pliable. So we're going to work that together until it's nice and even. And then we're going to take this and we'll start making our sweet pea flour. So sweet peas, you may not know exactly what they look like in real life, but they're really just a fluttery, pretty flower. They don't even have a center that's really that visible. So they're one of the best flowers to make as a beginner with gum paste because you don't have to worry about getting something centered. It can be kind of off, and it always looks beautiful on a cake. So I'm separating out some of my gum paste, and you want to make sure that you're going to keep this moist. So what I do is I have a little silicone mat here, and then I put plastic wrap under it too. And I'm going to use that to keep my gum paste nice and moist. And I'm going to take the gum paste that I have over here, and we're going to make a center. So the center of the flower you want to roll, and then you're going to pinch it kind of into a longer shape with sort of a skinny end. There we go. So there's our skinny end. So the skinny end is going to be a bit of the base. Then you're going to pinch a little bit more to make kind of a fan. And you can leave it like this if you want, but I like to flatten this out and give it a bit of a flutter. So thick here, thin here. We're going to put it on a little bit of foam here. We're going to use something called a ball tool, which is right here. And we're going to press evenly on our gum paste to kind of flatten it out. I have a little bit of cornstarch here I'm just going to dip my ball tool into so that it doesn't stick to that gum paste because this is sugar. And I've just kind of flattened out the edge there just by making smooth, even strokes. So you're going to do that all the way around, and then you're going to run your ball tool around like this to kind of give it a bit thinner edge that can kind of curl. So I'm just going to keep working that. You also have a small end which you can use. So I'm going to pick that up. See how thin that's getting there? We're just going to give it a little more curl. And this curls by stretching out one part of the item so that there's more to kind of wave back and forth. And then I'm just going to kind of tuck this in and move that flutter around. And this will be the center of our flower. See how it's gotten all fluttery there? That's what we want. Now we want this to dry before we use it. So I'm just going to set this down over here. I'm going to grab a center that I've made already that's perfectly dry. Actually, I'm going to grab this one. Here we go. There are a couple of them. So you can make them all different sizes because you want different varying sizes of flowers. But here are some centers that are ready. So we're going to make some petals so that we can give it 2 to 3 petals on each side. So to do that, we'll need to take our gum paste and we're going to roll it out just like you would cookie dough, and then we're going to use a cookie cutter of sorts to cut our petals. You can order products for making gum paste flowers online. In fact, I'll include a link in the video so that you can just click to order these things. So we're going to flatten this out, and then I have a nice little board here. You can use marble, you can use plastic. Don't use your regular cutting boards at home. because they're going to have texture. You want something that's completely smooth. And then I have a plastic rolling pin, which helps out as well to keeping it smooth. You don't want to give your flower texture unless it's texture that you want on the flower, like say veins on a rose petal. Giving it a little texture will make it seem more real. Okay, so these are my sweet pea cookie cutters. They sort of look like the Batman sign, but they're perfect for making sweet pea petals. So we're going to start out with a really tiny one, which is this guy right here, and it goes as large as this guy right here. So we're really going to just use the two smaller ones to make a smaller sweet pea. I'm going to press down on that dough. Sometimes I'll actually lift up the dough to press it onto my cookie cutter there, just to make sure it gets cut in every area that it needs to. Again, you want to keep this gum paste nice and moist. And see how thin it is already? It's still very thin. But keep it moist so that while you're working with it, it doesn't dry out. I'm going to cut the next piece, and then we'll put that under our plastic and silicone so that it does not dry out. And you can ball this up again and re-roll it. It's not like cookie dough. You can't really overwork it so much. So we're going to take that ball tool again. We're going to flatten out the edges. So if you look at this, he has some rougher edges. We want to make those smooth and petal-like. So we're going to take our ball tool and just kind of, see if you can see that, tip this towards the camera. Just kind of smooth that out and give it a bit of flutter. See how that gives it some flutter when I stretch that out there? That's what we're looking for. It makes it more petal-like. Thin that out, and then you want to make it a bit gradual. And let's go around and give it a lot of extra thinness there. I'm going to flip him over. Give him a little more flutter there. And then we're going to do something called cupping the petal. So we're going to take a thicker piece of foam like this that's kind of light and airy. And I'm going to put my petal on top of it. And then I'm going to press the large ball and push it inward. This will make the petal kind of flip up and cup. See that? Just push down and in. We'll do it on the other side here. Get a little closer. Push down and roll in. See how that cups it? Then you have this really beautiful petal. We're going to take this, flip him over so that he's cupping downward. We're going to take a little bit of egg white here, and that's going to be our glue. We're just going to paint that petal. I'm going to take one of our pretty centers here, and we're going to make this fluttery bit at the top. I'm going to attach this to the back, and then slowly bring that petal around to the front. And then you can play with the edges there so that it bends back just the way you want. Now, this is what it looks like so far. We're going to add another petal. So I'll set that aside. If you wanted to make a bunch of these with stems, you can use wire, but I'm actually working on these for a cake competition that prohibits the use of artificial products like wire. So all has to be edible. Okay, larger petal, same process. You want to thin out that edge first. See how it's starting to push up from my mat there? It's got some flutter. Do the same thing over here. Thin it out. Get it to flutter. We're going to thin that center just a little bit. And then flip him. Thin out the back side just a little. And then go around those edges. Give him a whole lot of flutter. And I'm just using even temperature where the ball is half on and half off of the gum paste. And that's where you get all that wonderful kind of fluttery texture. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cup him. And you don't have to do this every time, but I like how it kind of gives it just a little more body. And then the petal pulls away easier from the center of the flower. Okay, so we've got our cupped petals. We're going to flip that, whoops, we're going to flip that right over. Get our glue, which is that egg white, on a little paintbrush. I actually have a lot of paintbrushes at home that are only used for food. Believe it or not, they're a very handy tool. Okay, so we're going to take the back side of this, stick him onto our petals here, and flip it down, and then this is where you just need a little finesse. You're going to play, if I can move my fingers so that you can see, you're going to play around with those petals and get them to separate nicely. See how you have that beautiful sweet pea coming together? So it was that simple. It doesn't take very much time, just a little patience for letting that center dry, and then attaching the petals and letting these dry. So after this has dried completely, you can then color it with a powdered coloring and then attach it to your cake in whatever way you wish to. So that's how you make a gum paste sweet pea. I'm Chef Elizabeth. I'll see you next time with more tips on